Hello, welcome. Sorry, it took me a little bit to get onto Instagram Live today. Had to take care of a few things. Have some visitors coming in a little bit from Japan. Hold on, I'm gonna fix the screen here. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna wait a little bit before I start getting into Instagram Live today, but I'm really excited to share with you a few upcoming things and really hope to have a good conversation today. As always, during Instagram Live, please feel free to ask any questions. More than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. If you guys want to tune in with me, more than happy to bring you on as well. こんにちは。インスタグラムライブに今日入るのちょっと遅くなり申し訳ありません。今日はお知らせとあと質問を答えるので、もし何か質問ありましたらぜひこちらの方に書いてください。したら答えさせていただきます。Okay, so it's about 1:30 LA time, and like I shared earlier, I am looking forward to having some friends from Japan visit today. One of them is going to be performing tomorrow at the Assembly Cafe, which is in West Hollywood, LA. So if you're in the neighborhood or if you happen to want to grab some coffee and listen to some good music, I would highly recommend coming by. He is an amazing musician. I've been following his work for quite some time now. His name is Spotnik, and that's kind of his stage name. But if you're interested, it's on my Instagram stories today, so you can check out his link. Okay, so I asked for some questions. I thought I'd try something different because I had some friends and people who follow say that they aren't able to come into Instagram Live when I'm doing it, but that they want to ask questions, and so I thought I'd try something different, and I asked if you guys can submit questions to answer during live. And thank you for the hearts. And of course, more than happy to answer questions that you guys post here on the comment section as well during the session. Oh, hold on, let me plug in my power here. It's gonna go down. I have the power cord right here. Hold on a second, I'm plugging in. Okay, we have power. All right, so hold on a second, I have like my screen right here. So I'm gonna go right into it, and again, if you have any questions, let me know. So the first question came from Nia. Her screen name is Nia Wang Art, and her question is, where were you born and where did you grow up? When was the first time you realized that you could read energy? ありがとうございます。そうです。あともし日本語で質問したい方がいましたら、ぜひぜひ日本語でも質問してください。お待ちしてます。Okay, so her question, the first part is, where was I born? Where was I born? And where did I grow up? So I am born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I grew up in a little city north of Glendale, California called La Crescenta. It's a small little town. And I have a lot of friends who I graduated with who live there right now as well. And I remember growing up feeling like there was no excitement there, and why did I not grow up in a large city or somewhere where everything doesn't close at like 8 p.m. And I remember during high school that a lot of my friends and I, because I was kind of a wild child when I was in high school, so we would be out late at night and we would hang out at this local 24-hour donut joint, which was like one of the only few places in this little town that would stay open. And we would see cops and all these different people coming in the middle of the night. So it was pretty fun. Looking back at it now, I'm thankful that I grew up in a small town, because you kind of get to know each other, and yeah, it's really great. So that's where I grew up, and both of my parents are from Japan, so I'm second generation Japanese, born and raised in the US. Second part of the question is, when was the first time you realized that you could read energy? Let's see, how do I answer this? So I think as far as I can remember consciously, ever since I was little, I knew I was picking up on something that was beyond just conversation or something that people would be able to see, like in the physical world. And I remember talking about these things, what I would sense, what I would see, and I would tell these individuals, usually adults, because they were my parents' friends, and most of the time it would freak them out because they didn't know why I knew certain things about them. So that's my very, very first recollection, I think, of reading other people's energies. It wasn't so much consciously reading them, but it's always been like this for me, where I can see possible people's pasts, possible futures, or energy, auras, colors, shapes, visuals, things like that. So it's just been this way for me, and I kind of don't know what it's like to not be this way. As I've gotten older, I've learned, still working on it, but continue to learn how to live with it, and I think be better at harnessing it and really focusing, so that I am now able to read other people's energies consciously, and I can kind of turn it on and off, because I think before it was really difficult because it was on all the time, and when that's the case, you burn out really fast and get tired. So so I think that's my earliest recollection of having any idea that I can read energy of other people. But I guess I just didn't really know what that meant, I think, until I got into my 30s, and had a woman literally ask me to read her energy. So that's kind of the first time that I tuned into someone, I guess, and channeled it. But until then, yeah, it was just kind of the way I saw the world, I guess. Hopefully that answers your question. Again, for people joining, thank you for joining. I'm actually answering questions that people sent in yesterday. I had asked on Instagram stories if people can submit questions to answer during live, because a lot of people can't join in when I'm on, depending on what part of the world they're in. And so I thought it would be nice to be able to answer questions, and people can kind of watch the live video afterwards and have answers to their questions. Again, if you have any questions, people who are just signing on right now, if you have any questions that you would love to talk about, good to see you. Please let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them. You can put them in the comment section. もし今、日本で見てくださっている方いましたら、こんにちは。インスタグラムライブでもし何か質問がありましたら、ぜひ、こちらのコメントのところに書いてくださったら、お答えさせていただきます。Okay, so second question comes from, okay, I hope I pronounced your name right. Kian El Hijazar. Let me try that again. Kian, I know that's your first name, or Kayon, and then Ali Heja Zafar. I hope I said that right. Thank you for your question. And he writes, when do you find it most difficult to be mindful? Oh man, I feel like it's an ongoing struggle. It's a constant, especially because we're always so bombarded with things that require our attention or pull us away, whether it's social media, computer, people, whatever. It's really, I find myself to have a hard time being mindful unless I'm really conscious about it. And so I try to focus as much as I can when I find myself frazzled or under a lot of pressure, or I have a lot of to-dos, or getting pulled in different directions. I take a second to stop what I'm doing, close my eyes, take a breath, and really focus in on, okay, what is it that I'm trying to do right now? What is it I'm trying to accomplish? What's the most important thing right now? I can't do everything all at one time. And so I start to kind of categorize in my mind. And that really helps a lot to be mindful, because I think I have to realize when I start to get kind of crazy like that in the mind is that we are told that we can multitask, and I think certain things we can, like for example, doing the laundry and maybe like washing dishes and things like that. But aside from that, like physically needing to do things, that we need to have hands-on access to, I think it's not possible to do things simultaneously. We only have one body. And so when I find myself getting pulled in different directions, I feel like the way I stay mindful is through the breath, through the mind, try to connect to my heart in that order, and then stay focused on that. And then anytime I start feeling like I'm getting out of focus, I would refocus again. So it's an ongoing thing for myself. It's not easy. Like, it doesn't come easy to me because my mind is always kind of wanting to go to the next thing. So that's kind of how I try to stay mindful. And the most difficult is when there's multiple things happening, especially in situations where there's a lot of people kind of talking all at the same time, asking a lot of the different questions, or you're just kind of in the mix. I think is when it's the most difficult for me, because I'm really sensitive and I feel energies. I think it's not just the voices that I'm hearing, but it's I'm picking up on energies, I'm picking up on the environment, I'm picking up on so many things at one time, and it's just very frazzling to me. So those are the times when I have to be really, really mindful, and I find it difficult. Thank you for your question. Hi, thank you all for joining. I see all the waving and hearts and stuff, so thank you very much. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going unless anybody else has a question. I'm keeping my eye on the comment section there, so if anybody has a question, I'm more than happy to answer it for you or have a conversation, whatever you want. It doesn't even have to be a question, it could be a comment. I think those are sometimes the best. Like, people have mini conversations in the comment section while I do Instagram Live, and I think that's really cool too. I get to kind of watch. Okay, so the next question comes from K Melody. Thank you for your question. I know who you are. She's one of my good friends. But she writes, what early work did you do that was super memorable? At what start of your career? So if I'm just talking about my painting part of my career, because I feel like I've done multiple things up until this point. So for those who might not be familiar with my past life or past careers, before I started painting and getting really sick before that, I was doing product design, graphic design, and then pursuing singing and songwriting, writing music, working in the music industry. So all of that to say that there were definitely crucial points in all of those stages, but if we're just talking about my current profession, the painting aspect, I would say the most memorable piece, thank you for the hearts, the most memorable piece I have had is called, what was the name of it? I just had it and it left my mind. I see it in my head, the art piece, but it was when I shifted from doing figurative art or figurative studies to the abstract, and it was a complete sudden jump. It wasn't gradual. So when I first started experimenting in watercolor and in painting, I didn't know how to approach it. I never have had formal painting lessons per se, or painting like, how do I say it? Training. And so when I first picked up a brush and tried to figure out what I wanted to do, I was painting very specific things like apples and houses, and thank you for your question, I'll definitely answer it. Apples and houses and people, and so things that are recognizable. And it just wasn't, for me, it wasn't connecting. I didn't feel like this is what I was wanting to paint or create. And then suddenly one morning I woke up and I thought, I just want to paint what I feel, like all the feelings and all the things that I'm seeing internally, experiencing internally, like what would that look like if I were to paint it? And I think that is the moment when I came into the studio. I let go of all idea of what I should be painting, and I just let it do its thing. And out came this piece. Again, I can't remember the title of the piece, but it's in my head. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore. I sold it because at that time it wasn't, I didn't think it was really pivotal until I look back at it now. Now anytime I do a painting that's pivotal for me, I keep it. But at that time I didn't. And it was complete abstract. And I knew right then and then that I had hit exactly what it was that I wanted to be painting. And of course, as time has passed, it continues to evolve, as with anybody's practice. But yeah, I think that was for me kind of like this huge shift in how I was approaching art, where up until that point, even when I was doing design, it was very intentional, it was very controlled. And with this, it was complete freedom, letting go of my ego, letting go of any idea or notion of what I should be doing, and just allowing the medium and my soul, like my spirit, to just take over. And yeah, it was nothing like I've ever experienced. And I think I continue to approach my painting and practice that way, whether it's with business or otherwise. And it's proved to be, time and time again, for me at least, the way to go. So I always tell people, the universe is my manager, because I feel like in that sense I don't have really any control, which is kind of how I like it to be, just pure flow. And then the part of the other question that she had was at the start of your career. So yes, that was maybe, how many months into it? I think it was about maybe 4 or 5 months into like experimenting with painting that I had that kind of shift happen for abstract. So yeah, I would say it's pretty early on, and I've been painting. I'm in my 4th year now. So thank you for your question, K Melody. Okay, so I'm gonna go into questions that were asked right now. Please bear with me while I pin it up. Okay, so question is from Kelsey Grazier. Thank you very much. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. So the question is, do you have gallery representation for your artwork? If yes, at what point in your art journey did you start applying or being represented? Thank you for your question. So yes, I am represented by a gallery called Tappen. If you're interested, you can take a look on my Instagram profile. There is a at Tappen tagline, or name. If you click on it, it'll take you to their site. But yes, I'm very, very thankful and grateful to be represented by them. And I've never, with anything work related or anything since I started painting, I've very, very thankfully and humbly have not had to like reach out or apply to anything. Let me think, have I? Oh, recently I did apply for this group show in LA, but it was kind of one of the few that I've applied for. But it was, again, through meditation and asking the universe, does this align with my current path? And if so, then I would apply. So it's not so much applying for the sake of applying, but more of continuing to listen to what the universe is kind of guiding me. But as far as the gallery representation, I was very, very, very fortunate that a woman who had followed me on Instagram and I was following her on Instagram, she had shared my work with the owner of the gallery and, said that she felt the owner would be interested in my work and possibly representing me. And it was pretty early on in my career as an artist, and so I was really shocked actually when they had reached out, and I spoke with her, met with her, and I felt really good energy from the beginning. I loved the vision that she had for Tappen, and I continue to work with them, and I think that they're amazing. They continue to bring on amazing artists who I am inspired by every day. So yeah, to be honest, I can't really say the best way to apply for galleries because I haven't had the opportunity to do so yet. But I feel like people are always looking at our work. You never really know when it'll connect with another person and at what point. And I think that it's important to continue to do the work. I've heard, where did I read this quote? This woman who's an art coach, she had written somewhere on this blog I was reading a while ago, but she said we can do all the marketing and social media and all these connecting, like mixers and whatever, but at the end of the day, we're artists. And that's where the bulk of our time and energy should be. And I think running your own studio is difficult. You have to do everything. And there's times where I find myself really getting in knee deep into the business aspect of it, whether it's like accounting or taxes or whatnot. But I do put time aside to do something creative, whether it's writing or painting or something creative, at the very least read, to get my mind to stay flowing. And I think when we have the intention and want to purely share good work, opportunities will always open the door, whether it means we have to apply to these opportunities or if it means someone comes knocking on your door. I think that both are definitely viable, and but I don't believe in forcing things, if that makes sense. So I know some business books, and I've read a lot of art business books where they kind of walk you through this process of applying for galleries. And everybody's advice is going to be different. If you speak to another artist, he or she would tell you something completely different. Just for myself and the way that I want to practice, I think that for me, it's always been trying to stay aligned with the purpose of why I do art, and to make sure that if I were to sign on with the gallery, it is a mutual respect and understanding of this position that I have towards art and spirituality and people. Because I think that's, at the end of the day, that's really the reason why I do art. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry, I wish I could give you more concrete steps, but the strongest advice I can give is really just to continue to do the work that you do and make sure that it's aligning with who you are and what you believe in. Does it really make your soul sing when you create the art, and that it's not for just show and to sell or whatnot, and definitely to continue searching for that voice that makes you uniquely you. Thank you for your question. Okay, so let me see. I know I saw another question here. All these questions are coming in. Thank you so much. Okay, so question is from Bruno Candiotto. Thank you for your question. So he asks, as an artist, how do you create balance between your personal and professional life? Good question. Oh man, I don't think I have an answer for that yet, but most recently I have switched in the way that I approach this, actually, where up until this point I was thinking of it more like work-life balance, meaning yin and yang, or like here's work, here's life, and finding this middle ground. But and again, I think I read this on an article this entrepreneur had written a piece, and he wrote it as work-life fusion, or work-life, how do I say, like integration. And I think that really sounds actually quite accurate, especially if you are running your own show, meaning like if you're like the sole person that's running your own studio, like myself, although you might have help here and there, but at the end of the day you are the one that is living and breathing what you do. I think that it makes more sense because I can never really separate myself from quote unquote work, because I feel like it's a part of me. And I think that's why I was having a hard time finding like this work-life balance, is because it's not really about work and life. It's more like work is life and life is work for me. So when I'm showering, I'm thinking about painting. When I'm painting, I'm thinking about life experiences. When I'm cutting vegetables and getting ready for dinner, I might be thinking about the certain colors in the vegetables and how I can translate that energy into a painting. Or while I'm cleaning up the studio, I think about, that reminds me of, this one person's home that I visited, not related to work, but just, as friends. And, I remember how they liked organizing it. So, and even more so, people who have children, or elderly parents that they're taking care of, or other things that are mixed into this. I feel like there's moments in each area where we can find inspiration for our work, and at the same time, things within our work that we can bring into our everyday lives that enriches our experiences with others. So In that sense, I think this balance, besides there's certain things that I definitely stay steadfast to that do help to keep things quote unquote balanced. And for me, the balance is more mind, body, spirit, soul, that balance, not so much work in life. So eating as clean as I can, a clean diet, getting rest, very necessary. Don't over pushing, not over pushing the body, and listening very carefully to what my body is telling me. So eating, sleeping, I think are kind of key ingredients for me. Oh, and also breaking down my schedule so that I have enough downtime. Again, I'm highly sensitive, and I also need recharge time because I'm an introvert. And so in my schedule, I have in here, you can see I'm like looking at my calendar right now. So for every event, I'll have to also schedule in downtime, which means like no people, no leaving the house, just kind of staying put and charging up. So I think those things kind of help to keep a balance kind of, in physical form. But otherwise, as far as work and life, I think that's kind of how I'm starting to approach it. And it's feeling a lot more fluid versus trying to find like either or balance, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for asking. Okay. And everybody who's joining right now, thank you for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. I also have questions to go through that people asked yesterday, so I'll go through them as well. Thank you. Oh, everybody's so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm kind of scrolling through people's responses here. Okay, so next question comes from 8 Oliviano. Thank you for your question. Right, hi, you said that you are able to see energy. Do you also channel any energy, and which energy is it? Yes, so I'm able to see energy and channel it. I don't know how you describe which, but like the way that I sense it is, thank you for the hearts, with people who are highly attuned to these things, whether, psychics, mediums, however you want to, like clairsentience, clairaudient, however you want to label them. I feel that at the end of the day, we all have these capabilities or abilities. It's just that some people, I think, are a little bit more tuned to a certain frequency than others. And so I feel like that makes them a specialist. And some people have multiple specialties. Some people have full spectrum specialties. For me, my energy reading and sensing is very specific in that, like for example, I can't talk to animals. My past life regression or past life tuning into people's past lives is not super strong, I would say. It comes up during a reading when I do energy readings with people, or when I see people, I might have flashes, but it's not my specialty for sure. Like talking to people who are deceased or on the other side, I don't feel is my strong suit either, but it has come up during readings where I'm able to tune in to people, and if someone were to have passed and it's within 7 days of their passing, I'm able to connect with them very strongly. So each person is different, and I think that the way that we channel energy is different. Like for me, my specialty is really tuning into someone's current energy and how it connects to their higher self and the universe and where they are at the moment, and bringing to surface, kind of like a translator, I guess, the things that are, you can't see with the naked eye, like your subconscious and things beyond the physical form, to bring that to the forefront so that the person who's getting the reading can see it, in a language that they can understand. So I when I'm seeing, sensing, visualizing things of other people, I try to break it down so that they can understand it. It's kind of the easiest way to describe it, I guess. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for asking. Okay. So I'm kind of scrolling. Let me just kind of go through these comments. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Kelsey. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Oh, Jungho! Hi! Konnichiwa! Oh, thank you. Oh, everybody, you guys are so sweet. Okay. Yes, of course. No problem. Oliviano. Okay, so next question is from Megan Martinez. Martignoni. I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry if I butchered it. People butcher my name all the time, so I try to be as accurate as possible. But the question is, have you ever studied law of attraction? If so, how does this play into your art? Yes. Well, I don't know if I can say I've studied it, because I think I've sensed it again since I was, for as long as I can remember. So when I did read about it, it's almost like I was already doing it before I realized what it is, or that now now it's kind of in this category on its own and people study it extensively. But I think it's kind of comes in the territory of manifestation and connecting with the universe and all these things. So yes, in a way I've kind of learned to tune into this idea of okay, well, let me back up a little bit. So everything that we are, like for example this cup of water, and our physical being is made up of energy. Whether it's inanimate objects or animate objects, we're all made of energy atoms. And so what we see as something that's concrete is actually molecule energy, like energies that are moving so fast that it becomes a solid object. But in reality, nothing is permanent, or nothing is as real as we think. And so that's kind of like the baseline. So if you think about it, anything that we think about, even though it might not be in physical form, it carries a certain amount of energy. It might not be enough energy to immediately, like, boom, the phone appears. Although in future time, who knows, we might be able to like manifest a phone right away. And I can get into like a whole nother conversation about this. But so in that same vein, what we think about, it manifests as long as it aligns with our life mission. So for example, if it is our life mission and path to, let's say, help other people, that's a very general thing, but let's say one of the things that our sole purpose for our lifetime here is to help other people, anything within that realm of helping others will manifest for that individual. But for example, let's say, and I'm getting really extreme here, but let's say on the other opposite end of it, you consciously start thinking about wanting to hurt other people, like physically. Now that goes against what your soul mission or purpose is. And so even if you try to manifest that, even though it might come somewhat true, it won't feel as easy and smooth as what your purpose is. So this whole idea of law of attraction is that some people get the wrong idea that you can manifest whatever, like money or fame or however you want to do it, but it's not really that. It's more of attracting the energy and the consciousness, the how do I say it, universal consciousness, I guess, that we all are connected to. If we can tap into that and we are able to understand what it is that we are really truly wanting to manifest, then we can attract that into our lives. And so I find that with my art practice, there are certain things that, for example, before I ask the universe and meditate and all of that, I might feel like, oh, I want to do this, this one thing, for example. But even though I can like consciously think about like how I really, 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 really want it, if it's not in that same vein of like the energy that's running through my heart and my spirit, that it's like not aligning with it, it will not manifest. Maybe there's timing issues, maybe there's some other things, but so that's the important thing I think about law of attraction, and it's something that I do use in my art practice a lot. And I wouldn't say it's the only thing, but I think I use it more towards attracting the right type of energy and mindset when I go into it. And also a lot of times with like the people that I meet, I think I put out their law of attraction example about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I was telling the universe, like, I really want to connect with people that I feel align with my spirit. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be people in the same industry. It could be people doing other things, but I just want to connect with with people of the same tribe, I guess, same type of, viewpoints. And it didn't happen for a long time. And I was like, okay, universe, am I like not meant to meet these people or what? New people. I have people in my life, but new people. And then suddenly like this onslaught of people start to appear, and it's as if like the floodgates open, and I'm like, okay, so timing was one of them. And if I think about it now, I wouldn't have been ready a year ago when I first asked for it. But I think consciously I aligned with this wanting, and it manifested. So just to kind of give you an idea. But so I feel like it's a very strong thing to have in your back pocket to understand this law of attraction. And I feel like as long as it aligns with universal truth and your soul purpose, then anything is possible. Just have to make sure to not abuse it. And and to know when and how to use it. Thank you for your question. That was interesting. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of scroll through and see if there's any other questions. Thank you all so much for joining. 今もし見てる方、日本から来てるんでしたらありがとうございます。インスタグラムライブを久しぶりにさせていただいてるんですが、もし質問がありましたらぜひぜひこちらに書いてください。答えさせていただきます。Okay, so I don't see any new questions on the people who have joined, so I'm going to go back to questions that were asked yesterday through Instagram stories. Okay, so the next question comes from Ellis Olivia Ellis. The question is there someone in particular whose energy is good in the upcoming election? So important. I think they mean US election. Right now we're kind of in the midst of it. This is kind of a difficult question because I have been looking at the ballot, people who are running, and and I understand with government and anything of this kind of nature, it's hard to have really clear energy because you're having to juggle so many. How do I say this? Like, you're dealing with a lot of rules and societal like barriers and needing to maneuver that. And so a lot of times people who go into the political arena, even though they might start off as being a very bright light, it's hard to maintain that. And I think it's not because they become dirtied or anything like that, but I think it's the reality of things. In order to move up and to kind of hold position of power, sometimes it requires for people to quote unquote play the game, I guess. And so in that sense, the energy might not be as clear. I won't say who because I don't want to skew anybody, and I think that that's people's free choice to choose who they feel would represent certain positions. But I would say it's very few, and even then the energy is not very super clear. So when I was filling out my ballot, I actually sent it in today, but I had to kind of pick like which of the two people had the better energy, I guess would be the easier way to say. I wouldn't say like the best or the clearest, but the energy that I felt like at least would help us move forward in a positive direction. So yeah, that's kind of my take on the political scene right now, and I think it's a difficult one, and I can't watch too much political news, because it really drives my energy down, and it really bogs me down, and I can't be down there, but I want to stay informed, so I have been looking into it, but it's difficult. And I understand it's necessary, but yeah, I hope that whoever people choose, I hope that it's someone that they believe in, and it's not because of what they think other people tell them to fill out or tell them to choose, but that it's someone that resonates with them, because I truly still believe people deep inside know the difference between right and wrong. It's just a very simple concept, Don't hurt other people, respect one another, share love and gratitude when possible, all these things, I feel like it's not about political sides. These are human, natural things that we're born with. Have you ever seen a baby come out of their mother's womb looking like they want to hurt somebody? No, every baby comes out looking happy, joyful, and bright and light. The most beautiful creatures are babies. And that's all of us. We've been babies. All of us have been babies. And so we all have the capacity to be this beautiful, shining, bright, light ball of love. And then, you know, and as we grow older, we just kind of start to lose a lot of that. And I truly believe that we can gain all of that back, because it's the core of who we are. We just kind of have to sift through things a little bit. But yeah, sorry, that's kind of a rant. So that's how I feel deep down, that people know. And I think if the people who are conscious and making decisions, the right decisions, it'll continue to move forward. And that's how I really feel. Sorry, I probably didn't answer your question straight on, but I hope that makes sense. Thanks for asking. Okay, no questions yet, I see. Thank you for your thumbs up and hellos. Hello, thank you for joining. Okay, so I'm still answering questions here that I received. So the next question I have is from, okay, I can't pronounce it, but I'll try to say it. Sinku Mi. It's SCINNE_CU_MME. I hope you remember the question you asked. So they asked, little question, watercolor related. Do you stretch paper prior to painting, and do you seal it with spray after? Oh, thank you for your questions. I'll be sure to answer them. So the answer is not all the time. I don't stretch all my watercolor paper before painting because I feel like stretching it kind of changes the texture of the paper, and a lot of times I like working with the actual texture that it comes with, and so I might approach it differently, like how much water I use, and maybe even like the medium that I use to get a certain effect. So no, I don't stretch it all the time. And I also like it when paper kind of, you know, gets a little wrinkly and organic. I feel like that's kind of like us humans, you know. We add a little something, we get a little wrinkly, you know, it's just, I think that's beautiful. So no, I don't stretch it. Sometimes I do though, depends. Depends on what I'm looking for. And then the other question is, do I seal it with spray after? I don't seal my paintings. Have I? Any watercolor paintings? I don't think I have. And again, that has to do with the quality of the color and how it does change it a little bit. But I'm very particular about how it looks, and so, you know, the finished product, and I don't want that to be dulled in any way, and so I don't spray my work. But I highly recommend people who collect to put it under UV protectant glass and make sure that they don't put in direct sunlight and all that good stuff. Thanks for your question. Okay, so let me get back to questions that are asked right now. So this is from Olivier Noria. Thank you for your question. And they write, how does the innocence of the contemplative and gratitude you mentioned are taking place in your work? Good question. My hope is, actually, you know what? I believe that the intention that I put in the work, whether it's through the actual motion, the energy that I'm putting through the brush from my fingertips into the painting itself, or the colors that I'm sensing to mix, to the meditative practice and spiritual practice I do outside of my actual studio practice, all of those things, I'm continually honing in on this idea of gratitude and being conscious of what I want to bring into the work, because I feel like, same with music, same with any kind of creative art, it's a very direct connection with someone. It's not, it goes straight to the heart. And so with that, I feel like comes responsibility as to what we are sharing with others. At least that's how I feel. And so when I'm painting and creating a piece, even if the other person doesn't consciously see this, subconsciously I know that when they're viewing the work, they get a certain impression or a certain experience, and I want that experience to be on the level of love and harmony and peace and gratitude and all the things that I think make our hearts full and bring joy and happiness. Or even within sadness and grief and sorrow and all these anger, there's still deep within that, there's still love at the end of the day. So I think even if those energies are coming through it, at the end of the day, the person who is viewing it, I want them to be able to sense that they're being seen, or that they're connecting with this, not me, but a higher source that they're kind of, able to connect with through, contemplation and looking at the artwork. Like almost like a spiritual experience, I think. So I can't quantify it and say that, if I do this kind of artwork and use this kind of colors and this kind of paper equals this kind of experience, because I feel like we're all individual, unique beings, and so it's different. Some people I've met who have seen my artwork are like, oh, this is crap. And that's their experience though, And so I can't really say how, but I feel that as long as my intention is channeled into it, that people will understand and communicate. I think that for me, even more than language, like talking, I feel like art creativity is like so direct in the way that we connect with each other. Hopefully that answers your question. That was a really good question. I'm gonna have to think about that one for a while. That's good. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you all who are joining, all the happy smiles and waves. Thank you so much. I always love being able to connect with you. Okay, so I have 3 more, 5 questions. I have 5 questions left from yesterday's Instagram stories, but if you guys have any questions during live, please let me know. I'm hoping I still have time because I feel like I've been on here for a while and I don't want to get kicked off before I answer everything. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. So the next question is from The Wild Reverie. Thank you very much. And they write, how did your journey start as an artist? Well, it started when I was like a wee little girl. My father is a French chef and my mother is just an all-around creative, crafty lady. She worked at Watercolor. I don't know if any of you are familiar. I think it's a women's lingerie company based in Japan. She was a seamstress. And so as far as I can remember, ever since I was a wee little girl, I always loved like coloring books and having like a big drawer of like pens and color pencils and just all kinds of art supplies. And I would just spend hours like doodling or coloring or whatever. And I feel like, I don't know if it really is kind of like the start, my journey as an artist, but I feel like that's just kind of who I am. I feel like we're all built a certain way, and I truly deep down feel like that's kind of the way I'm built, because I can't imagine really doing anything else. Like the other day my husband and I were joking because he was saying like, okay, if we win the lottery, because right now the lottery, well, someone won it, but the Mega Millions in the US was like this crazy amount, and so he's like, what if we win it? Would you stop doing what you do? And I immediately knew no, like I wouldn't change anything. I think maybe I would be able to build a big studio, but as far as like painting and doing creative work, I can't imagine not doing it. So it's not a matter of, I think, doing it for work per se. It's just I need to do it in order to feel sane and to be able to be myself. And so so I think that's the start of my art journey, was when I was little, and I continued to do art like throughout my life, whether it's ceramics or I took a little bit of a painting class, but things here and there. And it continued on through music as well. Again, it's not my strong suit, but music was also part of my life for a while. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. That was around like when I was 2.5, I think. The whole having a drawer full of crayons and all that stuff. My dad made a desk for me out of old wine boxes, and I had just one drawer, and that drawer was just stuffed with just art supplies, and I loved it. they would tell me I would run with my diaper to it and draw, and then I'd slam the drawer shut and run away and then come back. Yeah, crazy. Okay, so I have a question from Ladyboy Killer. I love that name. They write, have you come across any literature that encourages your work? Oh, so many. Yes, many. And it's not necessarily art related, really. A lot of it's spiritual writing that I think has funneled into my work, maybe indirectly, but I know that it's a very strong part of my work. And I always tell people, like, kind of the entryway into this whole, like, very spiritual side of my work has been a book called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And also a book, the Dalai Lama's autobiography was another big book. Eckhart Tolle's books are really good. And who else? I mean, there's so many. I wish maybe I should write them down sometime. But yeah, those are some that come to mind. That was kind of like the gateway. And then what else has been? If you're really interested, I could definitely share it on my newsletter. There's a little section on my newsletter where I have in like a segment where I introduce things that are catching my attention, or if people ask certain questions or want certain answers, I'll kind of elaborate in there. So maybe I'll do a list of books that have encouraged my practice. If you're interested, then I can fill it in there for maybe next month's newsletter for December. Let me know. Let me write that down actually. It's called Currently. I'm writing on my computer right now real quick. Literature that encourages my art practice. Include in newsletter. Okay. Oh, good. You said yes. Okay. I'll put it in. I'm writing a note right now, so I'll write it in. Yeah, because there's a lot, and I'm more than happy to share. Thank you for your question. That was lovely. Okay, that would be great. Yes. Okay, good. All right. Where was I for questions here? Okay. So I don't see any right now within the conversation here, right? Okay, good. I didn't miss anybody. Okay, so the next question I received is from Sebastian Conrad. Thank you for your question. And they write, what made you acknowledge yourself as an artist? Oh, man. Have any of you seen my Instagram post? It's a while back. It's one where it's a video of me like in the studio, kind of a back shot, and I'm literally painting gesso onto a canvas, like a big canvas. And I kind of talk about it in there a little bit, but actually I go into it a lot about how I felt like an imposter for the longest time when people would call me like artist. I had the hardest time accepting that title because I felt that since I didn't graduate or go to university for a fine art degree, I did graduate with a graphic design degree, but not fine art painting. And because I started a little bit later in my career, I had a really hard time harnessing it. And I think what the shift happened when I started taking it seriously. And what that meant was that I realized in order for people to take me seriously as an artist, or how do I say it? Yeah, for me to embody that and to do the work that I want to do, I have to believe that I'm an artist. But the way that I kind of went about it was, well, what does artist mean? What is it, like, artist can be many things, you know? I think that we all think of artist as like someone who does painting or this, you know, artwork. But I think artist can be many things. A visionary is an artist. Someone who tells stories is an artist. And so I think the way that I started to really embrace this title is when I started to think about, okay, well, who am I as an individual? What is it that I'm trying to do as, you know, being a creative? And And does that equate to doing art? And if so, then I guess I am an artist. And like I kind of shared a little bit before right now, is I can't imagine doing anything else besides what I do, create. And it could take on different forms moving forward. And I can be doing something else creative. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it all is under this umbrella of art, because art makes me really feel alive. And I feel like it has the power to change not only people, but I do really feel like it has the power to change the world. And so I think that's how I kind of acknowledged myself as being an artist, is to kind of work backwards and figure out, what does art mean, and what is it that I really want to be doing, and how do I see myself? Do I see myself as an artist? Because if so, then I guess I am. But yeah, so hopefully that answers your question, Sebastian. And if you are the one that's grappling with it, I am familiar with your work, and I think that your spirit is an artist. And yeah, so just wanted to let you know. Thank you for the hearts, by the way. Okay, so let me see if there's any other questions here. I think I see one right here. Hola. Okay, so question right now is, what kind of paint do you use for your art? Okay, so it depends on what medium. If it's watercolor paint, I use M. Graham watercolor paint. I use Holbein. Recently, I really like their watercolor. Thank you for all the hearts, by the way. And I use Schminky. I hope I pronounced that right. But yeah, those are like my 3 go-to watercolor paints. And then for oil painting, I only use one brand that I really like, and it's the Holbein Aqua Duo. And the reason why is because with oil paints, again, due to my sensitivity, I have to be really careful about what mediums I use, and I get very sick with chemicals. And so with the Aqua Duo, it allows me to oil paint and not have bad side effects. So if any of you out there are very sensitive but you want to oil paint, I would highly recommend that line. Some of the solvents you have to use in order to kind of, fiddle around a little bit more might give you some chemical reactions, but I sometimes have to use this, so I wear a gas mask, or what do you call it, those like filter masks when I paint. But as much as possible, I try to keep my materials very safe and clean, so that I don't have to worry about chemical reactions. So hopefully that helps. Thank you for your question. Okay, let me double check if there's any other questions here. Okay, good. Thank you for joining. All right, I'm gonna keep going down here. I have 3 more questions to go, and thank you for all the hearts. You guys are so sweet. I feel loved. Okay, so the next question is from Synth Stefan Art. And they write, what inspires your art and creative process? Okay, I'll answer your question, Tomato. Give me a second. What inspires your art and creative process? Everything, honestly. Everything. I'm gonna get logged off in a minute. So I'm gonna end this real quick, and then I'm gonna hop back on, because I wanna make sure I answer all these questions. And also, you know what, Tomato? I'm gonna write your question down so I don't forget it. Hold on a second. Tomato B, right? I just arrived. Sorry if I answered your question, but curious about where come from your inspiration. Oh, perfect. That's what I'm gonna be answering. Okay. Thank you all right now for who are joining. If you want to continue joining, I'm gonna end it, and I'll come right back. See you in a second. And we are back. Oh, sorry about that. I've been on here for a while, that means. Thank you all so much for staying on with me. It's been kind of a long live, and I haven't been on in a while, so I wanted to make sure I stay on and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you for coming back on. I'm going to wait a few minutes here so that everybody can join in who want to continue on listening and joining in. Thank you so much. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. I have about 3 questions left that people had asked yesterday on Instagram stories that I want to finish. And then Tomato B had asked a question as well, so I'm gonna make sure to answer that. But if you have anything else you want to talk about, let me know. I'm here for you today. So okay, so the question was, I'm gonna repeat it again. So Synth Stefan Art asked, what inspires your art and creative process? Okay, so I think Tomato Bee, this might be kind of part of your question as well, because you had asked, you just arrived, which is not a problem. Welcome. Everybody's welcome anytime. And you asked me, where does my inspiration come from? So I think that kind of overlaps a little bit. So I'm going to answer both at the same time. But so again, everything is inspiration to me because I'm really sensitive. Again, I'm talking about my sensitivity a lot because it's a huge part of I think the way that I see the world and the way that I approach my practice. But inspiration can come. Well, okay, let me give you an example. So right now in this part of the world, we're coming into fall, and around this time of the year, I smell, there's like a particular, it's not, how do I describe it? It's not even like a scent. It's almost like the smell of fall, and I sense it. And it makes me feel kind of melancholy. And I can feel like the pace, my energetic pace slowing. And then the sun is not as, I'm looking out right now because my window's right there, studio window. The sun is not as strong as during summer. And the shifts in the shade change. So where the sun was hitting before, it slowly doesn't go there anymore. Or there's a water fountain behind me over here in our backyard, and I noticed that it doesn't grow as much moss as it did in the summer because the temperatures are dropping. And during the daytime, the air that's coming through the studio right now, it has like a particular feel to it. Oh, Hiro-chan, I miss you. My really good friend, she just signed on. So all these things, like these small intricate details, really fuels my work, because especially when I'm working in watercolor, I think oil is a little bit different for me, but it's still like delicate, but it's a little bit different, the approach. Both watercolor, for example, these little intricate details is what really kind of drives my inspiration and like excitement when I'm working with these mediums. So a lot of times, people online might look at my work and be like, oh, it's like I can't really see anything, but when they see it in real life, they're like, oh, I didn't even notice that you had like this gold thing going on here, or there's this white on white, And I think it comes from being inspired by these very subtle changes, especially in nature, or even like in conversation. When, for example, how you had those instances when you meet someone for the first time and you're both kind of feeling each other out, like, okay, do we get along? Does that person like me? Am I saying the wrong things? And like, you don't actually ask the other person like, hey, so am I making you feel uncomfortable? But you like feel it. It's kind of like that, where you're picking up on like unsaid underlying energies, and these little things I think is what drives my inspiration and what makes me feel really excited about conversating within like the art piece. And then for people to be able to experience these like little moments within the larger piece, like there's little moments within each of my work, and it's almost like having little spurts of inspiration that I've kind of picked up here and there, and melding it into one experience. Maybe it's like the easiest way to describe it. But yeah, so other than that, what inspires me is getting enough sleep and not being tired, to be honest, because I am not inspired when I'm tired. And again, I get tired very easily because I'm always like soaking things up. So getting a lot of rest is really inspiring. Or I wouldn't say inspiring, I would say it just helps with being able to be at my heightened state so that I can really tune into the inspiration, if that makes sense. I know, tomato, isn't that hilarious? Yeah. Eve, konnichiwa. So yeah, it's those, just being aware, I think, awareness, and making sure that I'm picking up, like my antennas are like, like I'm picking up on like little things here and there. I think that that's kind of what drives my inspiration. Because I sometimes, I'll wake up from a nap. Actually, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, I woke up from a nap and immediately I'm like, oh, there's something like, I sense it. I feel like something is coming through, this inspiration, and, I need to like paint now kind of thing. And so it does come in spurts. And that's kind of, I would say those are the things that really drive my work, is like these quiet like in between moments that are not loud, but that all of us sense when we take a moment to like be quiet. Yeah. I love it. Yes, so yes, my dreams definitely help to create, whether it's direct or indirect. Sometimes it's very indirect where I'm painting and then it's almost like deja vu where I'm like, wait, I sense this, like where did I get this from? And then I'll backtrack and it's like, oh yeah, I remember this part of the dream that kind of reinforced this way of creating this aspect of the painting or something like that. I don't know if that explains it well enough, but yeah, they're kind of like, the worlds are kind of like intermixing, if that makes sense. Thanks for your question. Oh, thanks for your heart, Eve. You guys are so sweet. Okay, let's see. So I have 2 more questions, and then if there's no more questions, I'm gonna share a little bit of tidbits and I'll log off. I've been on for a while and I appreciate all of you who've been on with me. Thank you so much. I haven't been on in a while, so I wanted to make sure I have a good chunk of time to like talk with you, so thank you. Thanks, Tomato. I appreciate that. Tomato bee. Where did that name come from? I'm curious. Also, for those who are joining right now, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been on for a while, and there is a part 1 to this as well, so feel free to look back one before this. Okay, so the next question comes from Safira Wulandari. Ooh. Aw, thanks, Eve. I know, I feel like I haven't been on in so long. Yeah, I missed seeing you guys too, so I'm glad I can come on today. Okay, so they write, what is your favorite color? It depends on what. If I'm painting, I would say my favorite color at the moment is peach. I think you'll probably... Oh, Belgium. Oh, nice. But yeah, peach I think is kind of like my color choice because I don't know, there's something about it that like really resonates with me, and I'm sure you see it a lot in my work. It's used as undertones, it's used as is, it's used mixed in. I love it. And but as far as like clothing is concerned, I like very neutral tones, so beige, not beige, but like tan, white. I like black, but we have a dog, so I can't really wear it. I love gray. Oh, gray. Gray. I love gray. Different shades of gray. That's in my paintings as well. So yes, those are some of my favorite colors. Okay, next question is present, content, and grateful. Helen, thank you for your question. They ask, how would you describe your experience with and your relationship with God? Thank you for your question. Well, I have to be really honest in that I've had a very complex relationship with God, if that makes sense, in the more secular terms. So, and I'm, you know, for anybody who's religious who follows me, I definitely no offense at all. And if anything, I want to be respectful and feel like I am respectful of all different religions in the world. But that said, I don't particularly align to any one religion. I would say the one that resonates the most with me, or where I feel the most connected, I would say is Eastern philosophy, so Zen, Buddhism, like, you know, that whole realm, because both of my parents are lay Buddhists, and so especially the parts of it that speak to nature and like Shinto and all that, I think is kind of where my heart resides. But the reason why I say I have a complex relationship with it, and I think only recently that I've done really deep spiritual work, is that before I would equate God to like a particular religion. So for example, growing up in Buddhism, we don't, well, I kind of grew up within Japanese, and so it's a little bit different. We don't really say Godo or something. You know, in Japanese we say Kami, which means God. In Buddhism, you don't really say Kami. It's you say Bosatsu, or you know, that's kind of like the direct translation to Buddha. So I never really grew up saying God, whether it was in English or Japanese. The only time I would say God is when I would say the Pledge of Allegiance at school. But as I grew older, I made friends who are Christian, Catholic, Muslim, all different religions. And I think God in the context of religion changed per person. And so I would hear all these different versions of it. And again, with my lack of using God in this context, I'm not really sure how I felt about it, because some people made me feel very fearful of God. Others made me feel like I feel guilty when I talk about God. Other people, I feel like, okay, God is like the only thing that's right in the world. And other times when I hear God, it would make me feel like, oh, it's like this wonderful being. But it still is very confusing to me, I think, growing up. Now, there was one particular time when I had people who I knew that made me believe that if I was not aligned with God, then I am gonna go to hell. And again, even this whole idea of like heaven and hell is very different, I think, for me than maybe some people. But that's when I really started feeling this like negative connotation with the word God. So fast forward, I started doing a lot more spiritual work after getting sick, and I'm reading a lot of different books, and this whole idea of God has continued to like, be in the realm of whatever I'm reading. And Tapito, I miss you. Anyway, sorry, a friend I haven't seen in a while. So God will come out in these like books I'm reading, and I feel so uncomfortable because, again, my whole background of God has always never been quite clear to me. And so I was reading these books feeling like, oh my God, so uncomfortable, like God, like, people talk about God and like, oh my gosh. But recently my relationship with God has changed because ever since I started to tune in with the universe and to really kind of take into consideration, when I'm energy reading, for example, and looking into people's soul energy and spirits and stuff, I started to really understand this idea of God and how we as humans have kind of humanized it, I guess. So, for us to really connect with it, that's what we do with everything. Like, we humanize things so that we can feel compassion and connection with things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think sometimes when we do that to things, it kind of puts things out of context, and we start to manipulate things so that it makes more sense for us or for our particular needs, when in reality it's maybe not that complex. Maybe it's very simple, And I think that's the case with God, is that we've come to make this into a very complex matter, when in reality God is just the creator of all things, the source, and the universe, the everything is like God, because God is not a person, it just is. And when I started to understand that we are all beings and children of God, and however people want to talk about it, that we are all, these beings of light, and, we are all on different journeys, and some people are, more aware than others, and whatever it is, at the end of the day, we are all part of like one existence, right? Because it's true. You are existing right now. I am existing right now. We are all kind of experiencing this thing called life on Earth right now, and there's other experiences outside of Earth. And all of this is happening within the context of God. Or I just say universe, or the one, or the source, or I just kind of intermix things because it's all the same. To me, at least, it's all talking about the same thing. So when I started to understand this concept is when I finally was able to let go of the idea of God, and how we are so, thanks Eve, we are so stuck, I think, on like labeling. And again, it's because we try to make sense of our world by labeling. So there's nothing wrong with it at all, including God. There's nothing wrong with labeling. But sometimes that can kind of block us to see like the truth in things, and I think that goes with people. For example, if we label someone a liar, for example, let's say we hear from our friends like, oh, that person's a liar, then immediately that label is placed on them, when in reality, maybe one, our friend could have misunderstood the whole situation. Two, maybe the person had to fib a little bit about that one little thing, but because it meant so much to our friend, they think of them as like this huge liar. So our perspectives shift because of what we might hear or what we might label. So, if we were to hear, like, again, if someone's a liar, because they've been labeled that, we start to believe that they're a liar. That's like their label, and it blocks us from truly getting to know them as a person. Maybe they're spectacular and they're really, the reason why they lied was maybe because they didn't want to hurt this friend of ours, and the reason behind it was because there's all this other love and intention behind it. We never know, honestly. So with that said, I think that goes with, again, God. It goes with anything else in our everyday lives that we tend to want to figure out and like kind of put a lid on and be like, okay, that's that and that's settled. When in actuality, if we were to kind of dig a little bit and take a look, maybe our perspective would shift, just like mine did with God. If I never really dug deeper into it, I think I would still feel very uncomfortable about it. And that would relate to other religions as well. Like, I wouldn't be able to relate to someone who had a different view of God. Like, I would feel very uncomfortable about it. But now I feel like even if I were to meet someone who, let's say, was completely radically different from the way I think about God, for example, that I'm okay with that, because at the end of the day, I feel like we're still talking about the same thing. They might not believe it. I don't know. Maybe they will. But I feel that we are talking about the same God. I hope that answers your question, Helen. Sorry, I kind of went to a rant there. It's something I'm very passionate about. And it's really interesting because when I do energy readings, people come to me from all different backgrounds. And a lot of times these people who are very religious will say, Satsuki, I feel really bad coming here. And I'm like, why? They're like, because in my religion, fortune telling is a sin. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm not a fortune teller because I'm not telling your fortune. I'm just reading your energy. That's it. Like, nothing that you don't know already. This is all in your subconscious. Second of all, whatever your religion tells you about, whether you're sinning or not, I think that it's only a sin if it is negatively affecting you as an individual. Like, if, for any religion for that matter, like the reason why I think that some people are, religious, or some people are, against religion, or, we have so many different ways of thinking, all are equally important and viable. I think that for some people, religion helps them to become more inspired and like specific and focused on what they want to do with their lives. I mean, there's so many people, like I have friends who are very religious who are out there like saving people or going to like these war-driven countries, and they're doing that through this power of God. That's what drives them. And when I see that, I'm thinking, well, how can anybody say anything negative about that? I mean, look at these amazing people, So all that to say is, my relationship with God has shifted a lot, and I think, it's something that I cherish very, very deeply, and it's helped me to be also closer to people that before I think I would have been uncomfortable with because of just this one word, which is really interesting in itself. Anyways, thank you for your question. I hope I was able to answer it clearly. Okay. So I'm going to kind of look through, see if there's any other questions. Okay, so no other questions. Thank you all so much for tuning in with me for so long. I know this has been a long live session, but I haven't been on in a while, and I just want to make sure that I answer everybody's question. I have time to like hang out with you guys. One question, Tomato B. Is there a book or a place where we can see your art more than digital? So actually, I have only a few more copies left, but I have a little booklet called Tete-a-Tete, and it houses paintings that I did and a CD of music that I wrote for a exhibition I did in Tokyo about 2 years ago. I have a few copies of that left, so that is actually my actual book. I don't sell it online, but if anybody's interested, I have copies left to sell. So if you want one, please let me know. It's $55 USD. And again, comes with a CD, 3 tracks in it that I also composed. Other than that, I came out with a book called Moment, but unfortunately it's sold out, so I don't have any more, and I don't have any other books or places where you can see my art in person. Unfortunately, I'm thinking if there's anywhere else right now in the world. I would like to do another book though, but I'm kind of, again, here we go with the manifestation. I just asked the universe if it's meant to be, the opportunity will come. So hopefully I'll be able to do another book, because I would love to be able to, and offer it in a more larger scale. So before the first book I published, it was 500 copies, limited edition. But the next one, I would like for it to be available to more people. I think that'd be great, because a lot of people asked about it, and it sold out pretty fast. So I'll let you know, Tomato. And if you sign up on my newsletter, which is coming out soon, it's coming out November 1st, you'll be the first to know. So a few things just to share before I log off today. So I have a monthly newsletter that I send out once a month. It's on the 1st of the month. So the next one for November is on November 1st. And once a month, aside from telling you what's been going on in the studio. Oh, thank you for signing up. Yay. Oh, I know who you are. It's good to see you. I actually wrote about, well, I won't say anything. Anyways, the newsletter also includes a letter to just my subscribers, and it talks, I think it's a little bit more spiritual, I would say. It kind of talks about a topic that's been on my mind as of late, so I kind of write extensively about it as the opening. And then there's also another section in the newsletter called Currently. And if for some of you who've missed it, during this session, Instagram live session, I had someone ask me about what books what literature encourages my art practice. And so along with questions like these where I can kind of go a little bit more in detail, but also things that I think aside from my art practice that have been really interesting me, I write it in this column called Currently. And so you'll kind of get a little bit more sneak peek into the workings. So that's once a month. So if you're interested, sign up on my newsletter. It's satsukishibuya.com/newsletter. On my website, you'll see a little button. So that goes out monthly. And also, what else is there coming up? I'm going to be releasing some new works. Exciting! New paintings will be coming up shortly, along with bookmarks. Limited edition bookmarks. I don't have a lot left, but they'll be available for purchase. And also mini paintings are going to be available again. And again, these are all very limited. I don't have a lot of them, but they'll be available for purchase through Tapin. So if you check under tapincollective.com/Satsuki Shibuya, or kind of search for my name, you'll see any paintings that are available, or any things that I'm offering through them on their website. I think right now I have 3 paintings available. The rest have thankfully sold. Oh, thank you. Yeah, check them out. And all the artists on Tapin, I highly recommend. I have a feeling once you go onto their website, you're going to be like in this rabbit hole of like just goodness, because all the artwork on there is just amazing. I'm always very inspired when I go on. So that's where you can find my artwork, but also on the newsletter, I always mention if any new artwork is coming out. Like when I came out with the Amulet series, is sold out in 24 hours, less than 24 hours. So if you are eyeing or wanting to purchase a piece, or you want a mini painting or a bookmark or something, definitely sign up on the newsletter, but also I'll announce it on Instagram as well, my social media, to get your hands on it, because they tend to go quickly, thankfully. I'm very thankful, very thankful. Just because I can't do a lot of work, and so I don't have that much quantity. What else is there? I think that's it for announcements. I will be at the Assembly Cafe tomorrow because a friend is going to be performing live music. He's from Japan, and his name's Kenji, goes by the name of Sputnik. It's on my Instagram stories, the link to it. So if you're in the area, he'll be performing from 10 to about 2, I believe. And I'll be in and out of there. So if you are nearby, come say hello. Otherwise, I think that's it. I'm going to post, this will be on Instagram for the next 24 hours. And then I usually post this on my YouTube channel. So you can check it out after the 24 hours on the YouTube channel to kind of stay afloat, or if you want to review any of the stuff that we talked about today, it'll be there waiting for you. Okay. Thank you so very much for staying with me throughout this entire Instagram live. It's always been, it always is a pleasure being able to spend time with all of you, and thank you for all the hearts, comments. I'm always so grateful, so grateful for your support and love. Again, you know, I know that I wouldn't be able to do this without all of you, and I continue to be fueled by your love and your light and your energy. I feel it, all of it, and I'm fully conscious of what type of work I want to be able to share. So thank you very much for all of your support and love. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to send them my way. I'm still trying to figure out a good way to answer questions. Let me know if you like it like this, Instagram Live. If you want me to be answering them on the newsletter or elsewhere, just let me know. I want to hear your voices. So thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. And again, have a wonderful weekend or week wherever you are in the world. I'm sending light and love to you. I hope you feel it. May your days be filled with peace and happiness and joy. And even within the sorrow and sadness, there's always love and life to be experienced through those as well. So I hope that they find you, whatever you may be going through in life. Oh, and to end this, I saw a really interesting little ad on a bus that I saw yesterday or day before yesterday, and said, everybody's going through something. We are all going through something. And I thought that was so true, because when we are going through something, we feel like we're the only ones going through the hardship. But in reality, everybody has something. Whether we're rich, we're poor, we look like we have success, or we may be in the dumps. Wherever we may be in life, we all have something going on. So yeah, I think that really helps to kind of bring things back to base level. On that note, I'm going to sign off. Have a wonderful day. See you soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.